The courthouse of Belchester was built to intimidate. Its marble pillars rose like frozen thunder, its ceiling painted with scales of justice that seemed to tilt slightly toward condemnation. Every echo of a shoe across its stone floor sounded like a verdict waiting to happen. Judge Alaric Dorn entered courtroom 3A at exactly 9 o'clock, as he always did, not a second early, not a second late. He was a tall man in his late 50s, his posture so precise it seemed carved from the very laws he upheld. His robe was darker than the wood of the bench behind him, and his expression carried the stillness of a blade that had been sharpened too often. They called him the executioner in robes. He sat, adjusted his glasses, and surveyed the courtroom. The defendants, 3 of them, sat behind the glass partition, their faces betraying no fear. These were not petty thieves or desperate souls, they were predators, the kind that fed on human weakness and smiled while doing it. The first, Martin Greaves, a corporate magnate accused of orchestrating the deaths of 50 factory workers in an illegal building collapse. The second, Dr. Lisa Core, a physician who had sold fake cancer treatments to the terminally ill. And the third, Victor Hale, a cult leader responsible for the deaths of 17 followers, all purified by fire, as he'd called it. Dorn had seen monsters before. But these 3 were something else, people who had chosen cruelty not out of desperation, but out of arrogance. He opened the docket with a calm hand. The court is now in session for the trial of the people versus Greaves, Core, and Hale. The air was thick. Reporters filled the back rows, their cameras poised like vultures. Prosecution, you may proceed, Dorn said. His voice was smooth, even elegant, but it carried the weight of iron. Assistant District Attorney Miriam Voss stood. A young woman, perhaps too young to be facing wolves of this kind. Your Honor, she began, the prosecution intends to prove that the defendants before you are guilty of premeditated murder, conspiracy, and criminal fraud. Before she could continue, Dorn lifted a hand. Ms. Voss, he said softly, please don't intend. Do it. The words cut sharper than a reprimand. The court murmured, Miriam blinked, her lips tightening. Dorn wasn't cruel to her, not yet, but his way of demanding precision was merciless. Proceed, he said again, eyes lowering to his notes. As the prosecution began its opening statement, Dorn studied the defendants. Martin Greaves smirked, the kind of smirk only a man with too much money and too little soul could master. Lisa Core sat with her legs crossed, her expression calm, almost bored. Victor Hale's eyes were closed, he mouthed something like a prayer. The judge let them have their silence. He wanted them to feel seen. Because Judge Dorn had a philosophy. Justice isn't only punishment. It's revelation. You break monsters not by locking them away, but by making them look at themselves. And for that, humiliation was an art form. When the prosecutor finished, Dorn turned to the defense table. Defense? A man named Pierce Calloway rose, tall, expensively dressed, the kind of lawyers who smelled faintly of privilege and peppermint. Your Honor, he began smoothly, before the prosecution wastes more of the court's time, we move for dismissal. The evidence. Dorn's voice sliced through him like a guillotine. Mr. Calloway, this court does not dismiss what has yet to be revealed. Sit down before you embarrass yourself. The lawyer hesitated. The press rustled with excitement, and then, that smile. That faint, lethal smile of Alaric Dorn. Unless, of course, he added, you intend to defend your clients by interrupting truth itself. If so, by all means, continue. The court could use the entertainment. Calloway sat down. Slowly. Miriam Voss resumed, this time more confident, presenting photos of the collapsed factory. The images, twisted beams, crushed helmets, bodies under concrete, reflected in the courtroom's glass, but it was Judge Dorn's eyes that drew everyone's attention. He looked not at the photos, but at Martin Greaves. Tell me, Mr. Greaves, Dorn said suddenly, how much profit did you make from this collapse? The defense objected instantly. Irrelevant, Your Honor. Irrelevant? Dorn repeated softly. I'm determining motive. Unless you believe profit is irrelevant to murder? The courtroom held its breath. Martin's jaw tightened. I don't have to answer that, he muttered. Indeed, Dorn said. You don't have to. But silence often speaks louder than truth, and right now, Mr. Greaves, your silence is screaming greed. A ripple of gasps. Dorn leaned back in his chair, voice like cold steel wrapped in silk. You see, gentlemen, justice isn't about vengeance. It's about exposure. The law doesn't destroy monsters, it simply takes away their masks. And you, Mr. Greaves, have worn yours long enough. The judge's gaze shifted to the next defendant. Dr. Core, he said, you sold salvation to the dying. Tell me, did you ever believe your own lies, or was deceit your preferred form of comfort? Her face remained composed, but her hand trembled slightly. You preyed on hope, Dorn continued, and that is a cruelty even God despises. At least murderers in pain. You extended it, wrapped it in false mercy. Even the jurors looked shaken. Victor Hale, the cult leader, smiled faintly. You think words can judge me? He whispered. Dorn's eyes turned on him like a storm. No, Mr. Hale. I don't think words can judge you. But they can strip you. And when truth stands naked, even demons begin to shiver. The courtroom fell silent. That was how Judge Alaric Dorn began every trial, not with the law, but with exposure. And for the first time in months, even the cruelest defendants looked human. The first witness was called, Elena Marrow, survivor of the Belford factory collapse. She limped slightly as she approached the stand, her cane tapping softly against the floor, an echo that pierced through the heavy silence. Judge Dorn watched her closely. She was in her early 30s, hair streaked with premature gray, eyes hollow but alive. Trauma had carved her face into something fragile yet unbreakable. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? The bailiff asked. I do, she said, voice trembling but clear. Miriam Voss nodded to her gently. Ms. Marrow, please tell the court what happened on the day of the collapse. Elena looked toward the glass partition, toward Martin Greaves, the man she blamed for everything. Her voice quivered. We were told to keep working, even when we smelled gas. They said shutting down would cost too much. The floor started shaking. I tried to run. My friend, Alina, she stopped, covering her mouth. Dorn leaned forward. Take your time, Ms. Marrow. Truth doesn't need to rush, it only needs to endure. The courtroom remained utterly still. After a pause, Elena continued. I heard the roof come down. I woke up under metal. I could hear people screaming for help. I heard them. Stop screaming. Mr. Greaves's supervisors were outside, arguing about insurance before rescuers even came. A reporter's camera clicked, the sound felt obscene. Dorn's eyes flicked toward the media section. If any of you take another photograph without permission, I'll hold you in contempt, he said flatly. You're here to witness justice, not to feed off tragedy. Then he turned back to Elena. You said they argued about insurance, not survivors. Are you certain? Yes, Your Honor, she said. Martin Greaves crossed his arms, expression blank. Dorn's tone changed, colder, sharper. Mr. Greaves, the witness just described human lives being traded for balance sheets. Would you like to respond before I decide whether to address you as Mr. or Monster? Defense counsel immediately rose. Objection. The judge is sustained, Dorn said, to himself. The faintest trace of amusement touched his lips. Apologies. I seem to have lost my judicial restraint. The courtroom chuckled nervously. But behind that moment of wit was venom. Dorn wanted Greaves to feel it, to know that under the veneer of civility, the judge saw him as something barely human. Elena's testimony continued for another 20 minutes, technical details, phone calls, safety reports ignored. Each sentence tightened the invisible noose around Martin Greaves. When she was done, Dorn looked at her with genuine softness, something rare in his courtroom. You have done something today that few have the strength for, Ms. Marrow, he said. You've made the dead hurt again. That's what truth is, a resurrection. Elena's eyes glistened. Thank you, Your Honor. When she left the stand, the courtroom exhaled. Next came Drive. Lisa Core's turn. The prosecution presented dozens of fake medical invoices, testimonies from dying patients' families. One woman, her hair wrapped in a faded scarf, stood to speak. "My mother believed Drive Corps could cure her. She sold her house for treatment. She died alone, believing it was her fault the medicine didn't work." Lisa Corps finally looked shaken. Dorn tapped his gavel once. "Dr. Corps, tell me," he said quietly, "did you ever once look into their eyes before lying to them?" I believe the treatment had potential." "Potential," Dorn repeated, leaning forward. A convenient word. So soft, it almost hides the sound of death behind it. He let the silence linger. "Your victims did not die because of science," he continued. "They died because of your comfort with deception. That, doctor, is a terminal disease, and you were its only carrier." Her lips trembled. "You have no right." "Oh, but I do," Dorn interrupted. "I have the right to expose what you've hidden behind your lab coat: pride, greed, the arrogance of playing God while pretending to heal." Reporters scribbled furiously. Dr. Corps turned away. For the first time, shame flickered in her composure. The final segment of the day belonged to Victor Hale, the cult leader. The prosecution's witnesses were fewer, most were dead or missing, but one man appeared, shaking visibly as he entered the courtroom. "State your name," the bailiff said. "Daniel Corvin," he whispered. Dorn frowned slightly. "Mr. Corvin, you were a member of Hale's congregation?" "I was his disciple," Daniel said, voice hoarse. "I helped him light the fire." The words dropped like a bomb. Gasps rippled through the court. Victor Hale smiled faintly, as though proud. Miriam Voss approached carefully. "Mr. Corvin, can you tell us what happened that night?" Daniel's eyes darted between Hale and the judge. "He said the world was poisoned. He said we'd be reborn through flame. I watched people walk into the fire believing they'd awaken pure. And he stopped, trembling. He smiled." Victor Hale spoke up suddenly, voice smooth, almost hypnotic. "They were willing. I did not kill them. I merely opened the gate." Dorn's hand froze midair, the gavel halfway down. Then he lowered it slowly. "Mr. Hale," he said, "you opened the gate, yes. But to what? Not to heaven, to horror. To the only kingdom you've ever ruled, one of ashes and obedience." Hale smiled wider. "You think you can shame me, Judge? I've transcended shame." For the first time, Dorn stood. His robe flowed like a shadow, his presence commanding. "No one transcends shame," he said, voice rising, echoing off the marble walls. "Only the soulless pretend to." He took a breath, his words trembling with contained fury. "I've seen your kind before. The ones who baptize cruelty as salvation. You are not prophets, Mr. Hale. You are pyromaniacs who found followers too broken to run." The courtroom was silent. "The cameras forgot to click." Then, quietly, Dorn added. "Do you know why I despise men like you, Mr. Hale?" Hale tilted his head. "Enlighten me." "Because once," Dorn said, "I almost became one." A hush spread. Even the jury stirred. Dorn sat back down, composed again. "Court adjourned until tomorrow morning," he said softly. The gavel fell, and its echo lingered far longer than usual. That night, in his chambers, Judge Alaric Dorn sat alone. The courthouse was silent, empty but for the hum of fluorescent lights. He poured himself a glass of whiskey, staring at his reflection in the dark window. "Once, I believed in redemption," he whispered to the empty room. "Now I only believe in exposure." His hand trembled, just slightly, as he lifted the glass. Outside, the city lights shimmered like 1,000 watching eyes. And in that reflection, for a brief moment, Alaric Dorn looked exactly like the people he judged.